you've seen the result. So that was, an emphasis going into the night was, play harder.
Some looks from three that you usually hit weren't going down. Did you adjust and think about getting yourself to the bucket, getting into some of that mid-range action to get yourself going after that?
No, I don't really ever just sit there and think about, shots I'm going to take. If I'm open, I'm going to shoot it. If not, I'm going to try to, make a play for a teammate. Unfortunately, I got 4 good looks to start the game. Let's say 3. One was not that good of a look. Shot it anyway, but just didn't make it. And if you start the game over, I have those 3 looks, 4 looks again. I'll probably shoot the bad one again too. So, yeah, I trust the work that I put in, and like I've said a million times, I just continue to try to play the game the right way.
Rui left the game early. Left the game early. Had to get fitted for a mask. He threw that mask off, ended up trying another one out, and he's still mixing it up in there, both offensively and defensively. What do you think of his effort in kind of maybe being an example of the type of physicality that you all were able to play with tonight?
Yeah, I thought, Rui was big for us tonight. He didn't get that many shots, but the physicality that he played with on the defensive end, even after whatever the situation is, he came back out and it didn't look like anything had happened other than him wearing a mask. He was out there competing his ass off every single possession. He had a couple really, really good possessions guarding Julius Randle in that third, fourth quarter, where he just stood his ground, made him take tough shots, and didn't foul. So he was big for us tonight.
After Minnesota cut it to 11 midway through that third quarter, I think about midway through the third, JJ was pretty animated after he called timeout. What was the message to the in the huddle after that timeout was called, and what you make of the team's response? I think you guys went on a 9-0 run to get the lead back up to 20.
Well, you were asking what he was animated about?
What was he animated about? What was the message in the huddle?
Play better. Yeah, I don't know if y'all have talked to him. If he wants to say what he said, he can. Just say he wasn't happy, and we responded well.
Austin, you took that big charge when they were in transition late. What did you see on that play? And just also LeBron had his steal with the finish in transition. I think it got to like 9 at that point. Just what did you see in terms of your guys' defensive playmaking in crunch time?
I thought it was huge because our offensive playmaking in the fourth quarter was not what it usually is. I made a couple really bad plays. We had a couple turnovers, and in those situations, you just gotta, lay it all out on the line and do whatever you can do to, help your team win. And in the playoffs, you like I've spoke about, you win on the smallest margins, or you lose on the smallest margins. So a play like that in that situation, everybody on our team's ready to sacrifice their body to get a win.
Austin, you guys, I think, counting the regular season, have played them now 6 times and have really struggled to score the basketball 4 of those times. What is it specifically about their defense? I know you guys have changed, but what they do defensively that's so hard to crack?
You could start with them having really good individual defenders. Jaden McDaniels is a problem on that end of the floor. Ant's a problem on that end of the floor. Nikhil. You could go through the whole line. Rudy does a good job protecting the paint. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch the game. I think that we got looks that we were happy with in a lot of situations. We just didn't make them. And but like I said, they're I think their identity is to play hard and be physical and do that on both ends of the floor. So they got a good group that guards hard, and we got to be more deliberate on the offensive end to get ourselves in good positions to be successful.
Around mid-December, you guys started to forge an identity where you guys played really hard too. Like, it became kind of a core principal part of what this team was, and it's faded at times down the stretch. But I guess how comfortable do you think this group was having to win a game this way tonight, knowing that you guys have won games this way at times throughout the season?
Like you said, we've done it multiple times this year. I think you could go back and, throughout the midst of the regular season, you lose a couple games, and then you might not be playing as good as you want offensively, defensively. And the one thing that you can always, go back to is competing as hard as you possibly can every possession. And I feel like that's what we did tonight from the start, to the end of the game. Every single possession, everybody was locked in. Everybody was willing to do whatever it took to, get this win. And it's got to be like that because they got a group of guys that's going to do that as well. So, we're comfortable with having to play like that.
Hey, Austin. JJ said that there were signs that tonight was going to be different. Obviously, you guys had a great practice. I'm curious, was there anything said in the group chat or anything in the locker room pregame, or what did you see that let you know that the team was going to come out with a requisite physicality tonight?
I think it just goes back to the other night when we basically got punked, like, as you call a spade a spade. They come in here game one and punked us, and you could tell from the energy in the locker room after the game that nobody was worried about what we have. We just had to go out there and like I said, compete every single possession. And like you said, we had a really good practice yesterday, and that kind of just ensured kind of where the headspace was, and the knowing of what we were going to have to do to come out here and get a win. Thank you.
All right, back to Minnesota. The former Laker, Julius Randle, led the Timberwolves with 27
Julius,
tonight
it was a physical
on some
battle
determined
out there tonight.
play,
Watching
but
you play, you could
Minnesota heads
just
back
sense
home,
that
tied
you
up at
were
1.
battling all the way through it. What was it like for you tonight on the court?
You said what was it like?
Yeah.
It was what we expected. We knew they were going to come out hard, high intensity with energy. We knew they were going to be physical, so it's what we expected for sure, I would say. But, we did a good job responding after the first quarter. We just kind of dug ourselves too deep of a hole.
Yeah, Julius, just what was happening in that first quarter that allowed them to get on top of you the way that they did?
I just think we were stagnant. We missed some good looks, some open layups. And then, Luka got off to another hot start. He got some early free throws. I think he had like 8 free throws early, so he got off to, a hot start. And, they were just kind of in a rhythm in that first quarter. They scored 94 points for the game, but they had 34 in the first quarter. So that means, after that, we held them to 20 a quarter, which is who we are, as a team. So we just got to get off to a better start.
You guys were great from 3 in game 1. Very few attempts tonight. Was it something they were doing to take that away? Were you guys being a little reluctant there? What did you see on that?
No, not that. I just think we maybe just a little bit too stagnant, too slow getting into our actions or what we were looking for. Also, we got a lot of points off of transition last game, and they kind of took that away from us. We got some open threes, open looks in transition last game that we didn't get tonight. So just got to be better in that department, all things that we can control.
Julius, in both games here and kind of throughout the season, you guys have struggled at the rim in general. What goes into better finishing around the bucket?
I don't know, just focus. You got to work at it every day. Just working on your touch, stuff like that. But I think it's just focus and spacing as well.
Ant said when he got the ball, he felt like they would almost go into like a zone kind of look.
Absolutely, yeah.
We talk about off-ball movement all the time, but how difficult is that when they're seemingly kind of shifting, and against a zone like that, sometimes you don't exactly know where to cut?
It's tough. It's tough. We as a team got to figure it out and figure out a way to help him get easier looks, so he can be, the Ant that we need him to be. He was still great, but he had to work extremely hard for everything. And some of that I can do myself, with pace, pushing the ball. I think fourth quarter was the only time that I got him an uphill DHO. He got a clean look for three. It's probably the only time I got him an easy look all game. You know what I mean? So myself, I have to be better in helping him, as well. So.
Julius, 1-1 going back home. How do you get back home and not start game 3 like it started tonight? Is it home crowd? Is it the role players? Is it the must-haves? How do you not carry over the slow start tonight into game 3 at home?
I think it's just an attention to detail. We got to have an awareness. We've had slow starts throughout the season, and we've had great starts throughout the season. I think it's really just our focus and attention to detail to start the game. We do that, lock in the coverages and not let them get us stagnant in the half court. I think we'll be fine. So usually when we get off to a great start, which we have been lately at home, we've played great throughout the game.